and welcome to Wires from the Deep, a SiloSeries podcast. Today is Saturday, July 8, 2023, and you're listening to episode 14, Meet the Janitors. I'm your host, Crystal, here with my co-host, Kelly.
Hey, everybody.
And joining us today are two of the SiloSeries subreddit mods. First, we have Megadude, or Megaton, who is Bill Kennedy.
Good morning. Aloha. Nice to be here.
And then we have Zeneca, or Josh Mandell.
Happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me on.
Yeah, so Josh is our newest mod, so and Megadude is the original mod, right? So
Yeah,
And
sort of.
which sub is it? The SiloSeries subreddit that they're from?
actually, we all mod SiloSeries, and we also mod Wool, which is funny because I had become a mod for Bill had invited me to become a mod for Wool a while back before the show started ramping up, and when I was checking the queue every once in a while, it was all this post about yarn and stuff like that.
People in the wrong place.
Yeah,
Hidden mentions.
exactly.
Yeah, I run the Iron subreddit, which is like a weightlifting subreddit, but every once in a while I'll have people asking questions about clothing irons or wrought iron fences, and I'm just like, hello.
Crystal and I was talking the other day about how using the name Wool for the show would have been almost unmarketable because like any search for that is just going to pull up like crazy amounts of like texture.
That's halfway interesting in regard to the how the subreddits came to be. Is like Crystal mentioned, I had Wool from years ago, and I actually took it over through a Reddit program where you can kind of adopt abandoned subreddits. And it actually
oh my gosh, really?
Yeah, it actually was.
I want to adopt an abandoned subreddit.
Wool subreddit, back in the day. So, yeah, I took that over, and we intended that to be the subreddit for the show. And someone else had created SiloSeries, a couple years back, and it never had the traction that Wool had, but it had a few people in it. And then just like, when was it? Was it just like February or March where they announced that the show was going to be Silo as opposed to Wool?
I think they didn't even really announce it, right? I think somebody had like bookmarked the page on Apple, and then they went back and noticed, hey, it says Silo now.
Yeah, so I remember I tweeted Hugh, back a few months ago, and I was like, hey, so are they changing the name? And he's like, yeah, it's something he has to get used to also. So all of a sudden the subreddit didn't fit anymore since we had Wool. But then the guy who had SiloSeries basically abandoned it, and he gave it to our other mod, Smug Oregonian, Keegan, who's not here today. And then Keegan reached out to me and was like, hey, I got this sub. I don't know what to do with it if you want to take it over.
What was the SiloSeries subreddit originally about?
It was the same about the SiloSeries of books. So, all 3 books, basically. So it was one of those cases where, like we have now with the TV show sub, where we kind of wonder why there's another alternative sub out there, and, why did somebody bother to create it when it's for the same subject? But in this case, it was, fortuitous circumstances where, like I said, the SiloSeries sub dropped into Keegan's lap, and then he gave it to me. And at first we shut it down, and we put all the traffic over to Wool. And then when we found out the show was going to be called Silo, we went back and forth trying to decide if we should shut down Wool or use Wool for the books and Silo for the show. And so we ended up going with SiloSeries as sort of the higher, more prominent sub for both show and book discussions. And then we kept Wool on the side for basically only book discussions.
Yeah.
So SiloSeries is for everything, and then Wool is for if you really, really only want to talk about the books.
And SiloSeries actually hit 23,000 members today, so yay!
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I was just looking. On May 3rd, the day before the premiere, we had 853 members in SiloSeries.
Oh my god.
And so,
funny.
Basically 1,000 to 23,000 in what? Do
you know when you had the biggest jump?
The graph just looks like pretty much straight up. So every week.
Yeah,
it's like a rocket.
Yeah, June 30th, 557,000 views. And then as far as growth goes, the biggest day was again June 30th, where we got 1,400 subscribers. And it just kept going up from there.
Yeah, the finale was a pretty big jump.
Yeah.
When was the finale?
It was June 30.
June 30, okay. Yeah, because I can see that we had 1,400 comments per day at that last week of June. So yeah, people found the sub over the course of the season, and we're still going to get the bingers that are starting the show now that it's over. So hopefully we'll see some sustained growth and get even bigger for next season.
Okay, so I wanted us to talk a little bit about the overall show, and there's something I wanted to talk about with Bill because this funny thing, like, what episode did that happen? Okay, so at some point after the show debuted, Apple got back to him. He had emailed them before about getting press access, and so like after the show premiered, they contacted him. They're like, "Oh yeah, here you can have all the episodes." And so he was like, "Do I watch them? Do I not?"
Oh, that's so crazy. So what happened?
So I've been basically my hobby or my thing is that I'm a fan of the post-apocalyptic genre. So I've had different blogs and such since 2005. And so most recently I write articles part-time for a website called postapocalypticmedia.com. And so they do episode recaps and book reviews and things of that sort related to anything post-apocalyptic. And so, yeah, it was about a week or so before the show started. I tracked down the Apple PR folks for Silo just on one of their PR websites. And I popped them an email saying, I'd like to have access because I plan to write episode recaps for this website. And it'd be nice to, have the episodes early so you don't have to watch and then write at night and then, that kind of thing. I didn't expect anything of it really. And then we all watched the premiere episode and it was great. And then it was the day before episode 2 where they got back to me and they said, okay, here you go. And so what they do is they give you a press screening website and you log in, you set up an account, and then you can see, all 10 episodes. It's interesting as they play, it flashes your name up on the screen.
That's what I was just about to ask, if they just watermark it all the time.
So you had to turn off the camcorder pointed at your screen.
Yeah, that's how it was with Ender's Game. Sometimes they would send us like stills and stuff like that that they hadn't released, and they would have my name just watermarked across the whole thing, and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this is so scary."
Yeah,
it wasn't just one watermark; it had your name on it, so they know who leaked it. So
and it was across the whole image too. So
for this one, it would kind of pop up in the corners and stuff. But one interesting thing was if you're watching the show on your regular Apple TV on your Mac, or at least for me and Kelly, if you're on your Mac, you cannot take a screenshot because it blanks out the screen. But on the screening site they gave me, it screenshot just fine. So I was able to grab, screenshots all the time. So before, episode 3 came out, I had already finished the whole season. I'd watched the whole season twice by then. And then, had started gathering screenshots for the whole season. And then basically as every episode came out, I basically watched from that point to the end of the season again. So I've seen the whole season 5-6 times by now.
Wow. That's more than me. I watched 3. But you were pretty good about keeping things to yourself throughout the weeks.
Yeah, like I've talked to you, Crystal, on the side how I'm very anti-spoiler, even like hints of stuff. And so, I wouldn't want to ruin anything for anybody. And it was kind of different to have to stay out of some of the theory discussions.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is what I think is going to happen next week. Or,
do you feel like it ruined things for you a little bit? Like made it a little
no, I do it again in a heartbeat. Yeah, the only problem is I never did end up writing those episode recaps, so I don't know what I'm going to say to the Apple guys next year. I was kind of hoping my screener account would just sort of be there ready for season 2, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's interesting in those theory threads, having read the book, I'm just like, no, they're not in space. No, they're not, I forget all of the other ones, like a cluster underground. I'm like, no, but I can't say anything. I just got to keep rolling.
Yeah, so for me, it was multiple levels of that, knowing not only knowing what's in the books, but then actually knowing what's in the show, and then having to just, work with the knowledge that we have for those episodes that had been released and, craft theories around that, or talk with other people about only what we've seen. But yeah, it was still fun. We did a lot of analysis and, pixel sleuthing and all that kind of stuff during the season. So it was great.
It was funny because I think you slipped up once. You're like, have we heard anything about George's tattoo yet? And I was like, well, what tattoo?
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Nautilus shell, because somebody had talked about the shell. And I was like, wait, I know I've seen that tattoo. Was that in last episode or is that in next episode?
The pixel sleuthing was nice because I know on, I think it was the previous episode of the podcast, you got a shout out from one of the set designers. They were so happy that people like us had gone through, grabbed the screenshots. We're trying to decipher the pact. People were asking like, hey, what, I put a screenshot gallery together of like 40 different screen grabs of all of the files from all of the computers and found the TPS report joke and all of that.
Yeah, I imagine if you put so much effort into something, you appreciate when other people appreciate like all that work. So
yeah, probably 99% of viewers just gloss over all of that.
Yeah, it's funny because whenever people talk about what year it is, we usually come in like, no, actually.
Yeah.
Well, actually, it says on this file is 97 and 98. Therefore, it's X number of years after the revolution. I'm like, oh,
if you count the ledgers on the mayor's bookshelf, you can clearly see there's only 121.
Yeah. That's the kind of viewer Bill is. He counted the ledgers on John's shelf.
Oh man, I did not.
I guess the question is, did they count the ledgers on John's shelf?
They did because they were up there, right?
Yeah, they had it. I mean, they had them all numbered, but that is an interesting point. In Hugh Howey's AMA that he did on the subreddit after the final episode, I had shown him one of the pixel sleuthing things that we did where they showed a diagram of the silo, and Hugh had said that each level is, what did he say, 40 feet? And so we counted the number of pixels that would equal 40 feet, and then we figured out the width of the silo had to be this because it was this many pixels and that sort of thing. And so in the AMA, I asked him, like, hey, how close did we come with our guess that I think we said the silo is 150 meters across? And he's like, oh, I don't know. We never really came up with a number, but that looks good. So I was thinking to myself, like, wait, what? You don't know how wide the silo is? Like, didn't you guys think of this?
You just did all his work for him. Now he knows how wide it is.
Yeah, but like I said, I'm sure there's some set designer in the back that knows exactly all the dimensions of every level and every floor, and that one set designer is like, yes, somebody figured it out.
Yeah, we had that with the astronomer that chimed in about the stars, because the story with James Cameron in the original Titanic, the stars were wrong, and Neil deGrasse Tyson was giving him guff for it for years. So finally in the re-release, he put the correct star pattern up there. So when the astronomer popped in the subreddit, everybody's like, well, we didn't really think about the stars. They're just dots, and we put a constellation in there.
Yeah, basically the astronomer said that the silo has to be, south of whatever city you see in the show.
Right.
But, the filming location that they figured out is west of the city, we surmise?
I think we can say by now because of the guidebook.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically everybody knows it's Atlanta.
Especially since somebody found the Google screenshot.
I know, that was crazy.
I was just thinking, no wonder they can't go outside. I couldn't go outside in Atlanta. Like, the humidity killed me when I was, down south last time. That's what I think of.
Spoiler for the end of the book series. The silos were created to get away from the humidity.
Just, too hot.
Yeah, little things like the stars you see, Cassiopeia from the cafeteria would only be visible if you were looking north, but the skyline that we see from the cafeteria is basically looking towards the east, I guess. So yeah, it's one of those things where if you really, really get nitpicky, the details don't line up, but that doesn't matter.
Exactly.
For me, the bigger thing was that not every silo had a tree. I felt very sorry for those people.
Me too. What did they look at? What did they base distance on? It's how close is it to the tree?
I mean, it was just there every time we looked outside, so it just became a fixture whenever you think of the outside, right? So when you see that other people don't have one, it just makes them seem so deprived somehow.
That's actually the season 2. The first episode is Jules going out and doing the Johnny Appleseed thing, where she's planting trees in front of all of the silos.
Do you guys remember? Are all the cameras pointing in the same direction? I didn't look.
I don't know if... I mean, yeah, I don't know, but...
I mean, in our silo, they basically never see the sun or never see the moon. But if another silo is pointing in a different
like
direction.
a sunrise sunset type thing.
It's funny, because he was talking about, I think during an interview, Kelly, he mentioned something about don't be paying any attention to the weather, and that made me think, oh, do they actually ever see any weather? Like, does it rain?
I
Does
never
it?
saw any weather. I
Yeah,
never
I never
saw
saw any either.
no
Yeah, that'd
snow.
be too easy if the rain cleaned the sensor for you.
Yeah, and plus, I had thought about that, like during the season, like these people don't know what rain is, right? Or snow,
Even
but
acid rain cleans a sensor.
Yeah. But yeah,
yeah.
actually, I'm looking at the screenshot, and the sensors are all pointed in basically random directions as far as what the CGI designers came up with. But that would just be an interesting lore point. Like in our silo, they don't realize what stars are, but some silos see the moon go, change phases. So they have, much different knowledge, whoever's in there or whatever they're doing, but their life experiences are going to be fundamentally different just on how their home was constructed.
Okay, so overall, what did you guys think of the show? Because they did add a lot of things in, and we're gonna we're gonna talk about like the show exclusive elements that they added into the show. But we'll start with you, Josh. What did you think overall?
I mean, I loved it overall. It's not easy to go into a show knowing that the first couple episodes you're going to just start killing off main characters left and right, sending people out to clean. So, Apple going for that angle right off the jump, it was impressive. I knew it was coming because I had read the books, but it's still when you get to watch, a human being go through the motions and the amazing actors and actresses. I really love that part. And then also just kind of like the living in the silo was great for me. You get to see how kind of worn down things are because they've been in the silo 144 years, and that's a lot of wear and tear on the concrete, on everything. So everything's kind of dark and dingy, and even though they paint things, it's always a process. So I really like the atmosphere they built. But as far as the storyline goes, I'm very happy with it, and I'm excited to see where things go for season 2, because they're not sticking directly to the book. So even all of us book readers, we're still surprised by a lot of the curveballs that the show throws at us.
Yeah, I really like that because, I mean, I remember seeing some people like they were so upset that like it wasn't like a page for page kind of adaptation, right? And for some of the rest of us, we were just like, oh, but this is awesome.
I think I
we
always
get
feel that people like
surprised.
that have so little imagination. Like if you say that like a movie or like a TV show spoils a book for you or ruins it for you, like there's so many different, like you have, the book version of something, and then like any adaptation is a completely separate, like something to enjoy. And so
Yeah, that's how I
I've
felt. That's how I felt watching The Last of Us. Like I hadn't played the video game. I was doing something else with my life. I don't remember. So I had only watched the television series, and it was absolutely fantastic. And I'm sure if I went and I played the video game, it would also be enriching to that world. Having the
right.
show knowledge. The scene. Bomb the cities. I want to go home and be with my family. Like that's.
I think video game adaptations are really interesting because it's even more about like change, I guess, sort of in sort of like a narrative. Like it's completely different in a video game. So like you're not expecting that page for page.
Listen, the Hitman movie by Uwe Boll is a classic, and I will throw hands if anybody disagrees with me.
What about you, Bill?
Yeah, the show was great. Like I said, like you, Crystal, I found the books, way back when, 2012 or so when they came out. And I've read them a few times since then, and I just did a reread of Wool and half of book 2 right before the season started. But yeah, like Kelly was saying, what we saw on the screen, it was kind of mostly what we expected as book readers, but it was different enough that it was its own thing. And, it wasn't built as exactly as it was described in the book. So, it's a little bigger, more expansive, more open. People wear different clothes, but the story followed sort of close enough that you could still recognize the story elements that you liked out of the books. But like you said, there were a lot of new changes that were added in, the expanding on the storylines, fleshing out characters. And like I said, my prime the genre that I enjoy is anything post-apocalyptic or dystopian, and so it ticked all the boxes for me from the beginning all the way to the end.
It's funny how after episode maybe I think it was 3 or 4, people started saying, "Oh, why is it like a murder mystery show now?" And like for me, I was fine with it because I watch a lot of crime shows and I like mysteries and things like that. But people were so focused on the mystery of the outside. And so, what did you two think about their decision to hide what Holston saw in it? Because it was not like the short story. Kelly's read the short story, so she knew that they revealed early on, like after the first part, that the outside is toxic. So, but they didn't do that on the show, and that became like this overarching big mystery that everybody was fixated on,
It
right?
was funny for me because the show gave me, like, did I remember correctly what I had read, or was I just, because it had really been so long for me, and it even, like, I'd gotten mixed up in a few spots, like Crystal had to edit out from the podcast because I was misremembering, like, what.
Yeah, like I said, it is sort of interesting. I guess for the show, they wanted to, keep the big mystery for the season finale. Trying to think how they would have done it differently. Yeah, that would have negated a lot of stuff, like the discussions about what the Jane Carmody video was. Was it real? Was it fake? The glitch that they showed, which one was real and fake. So, but yeah, like you said, if people really wanted to know that answer, maybe the show only viewers weren't as interested in, some of the other procedural stuff going on. But, like for me, it was great. I loved how, like I said before, the story was just kind of more expanded or more backstory and more fleshed out characters than, were in the original book.
I think it's also fun now because you can, like, go look back on it, like, now that for example Jules knows that that outside video was completely made up, like the fact that she almost broadcasted that to the entire silo, like, in retrospect for her, is like way more powerful than if we would have, like, known that entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could imagine if everybody in the silo saw that the
Right,
outside
it
was
would have been like a
green and
complete
burning,
riot.
everybody
Yeah.
would just hit the door and then
Yeah.
promptly all die.
Yeah.
That's interesting because then that sheds different light on Bernard and what he said about how if you had shown that you would have killed us all. And
I
like,
think that's really true. I mean,
yeah, I mean, someone had even said on the subreddit, is are judicial the good guys? Because in some weird twisted cases like this, Bernard is actually correct that if Juliet had had her way, it would have caused a lot more devastation or havoc.
And I think that's why they were focusing so much on the characters too, because they want to make this gray area where you're like, oh, but if it does mean everybody survives, then doesn't it make it, like, I guess, worth it that all these people had to die? Even though we were
Yeah.
attached to them and stuff like that, and it just adds this whole complicated element to it that makes it really interesting. I
Yeah,
think.
for me, that's definitely one of the main sort of themes also in the first season and then moving along is individualism versus collectivism. Like, yes, one person's individual choice may be correct for them, but judicial is stepping back and going, what's the best thing for the silo? Yes, you want to share this information with you have so each individual person can make a decision for themselves, but the silo is going, if this information gets out, we are all going to die. And so they have to then, put the thumb down on it, get the raiders, get the hard drive, smash it, whatever they can do to keep the lid on the secret.
Yeah, it's like Sims in episode 10 when he's, screaming at Juliet and he's like, do you know what I do? Like, he murdered, I forget the other guy's name, the judicial guy, by throwing him off the stairs. And, he runs the raiders and, he's generally the bad guy. But in his mind, he's doing it to keep everybody alive, or at least as far as he knows. So, yeah, like Crystal said, it's interesting. It's not black or white. There's not strictly good guys and bad guys. And even the good guys' actions have negative consequences. So that's part of what makes the whole thing so interesting.
It's like throwing people off railings like that, something from the book. I'm genuinely curious because I just imagine that would be like the worst way to do things there, like in like a place where you have to clean all that shit up.
Yeah, I mean,
like, that's what do they hit at the bottom? Like, disgusting.
It's like a mile deep.
Splatters.
Yeah, well, because Jules' mom apparently, when Jules' dad was talking about the warm.
Yeah, there's like a diving platform up there.
Yeah,
apparently,
and that's on the first floor.
That's on the first floor, so that's over a mile fall.
Are they aiming for like one of those, where it cuts over the stairs?
So in the last episode, when Juliet watches George jump off, they zoom in down at the bottom, and you can see the mangled cover over the circulation fan. So a body going at terminal velocity is hitting this metal and exploding, and then the circulation fans are blowing
that's
all
what
of
I'm saying, right?
silo.
And I was just like, are those fans important? Because I feel like if they were important, you probably should
at least
have
really
some kind of security measure.
Yeah, put some Foxconn, suicide nets up.
And this happens so often that they have like an indented railing, okay?
Yeah.
To me, that says it's a problem. Put up some safety nets or something, right?
Yeah, they need to do what they do on the Golden Gate Bridge and have like that phone, if you're thinking about jumping, call us.
Yeah.
Made by Pippa.
To Kelly's question, I mean, I'm only through mid-second book of my reread. I don't remember.
I think the structure might have been different. I don't know that you could fall all the way down because it was tighter, right? With the metal, there was a metal staircase in the middle, and I think
definitely
I don't know if there was that much space.
No, I mean there was one thing that fell. It wasn't a person, but something fell all the way to the bottom in book 2. But yeah, I mean, just physically, the construction of the silo is a little different in the books.
Yeah, it sounds like there wasn't space.
It's not a huge thing.
I'm just saying that, like, the whole like jumping from the railing thing seems like a total Hollywood sort of thing that like they've added. So I just wanted to have the facts before I said that.
You mentioned the Hollywood stuff. I'm like, yeah, so is the whole Star Wars escape out of the garbage chute thing. I'm like, I've seen this before. Episode 4, they rescue the princess and they got to crawl down the garbage chute.
And they're really, really fast ladder climbers.
Yes. Yeah. They're climbing the whole silo in that thing.
122 levels. And
yeah, what did they start on?
The chute would be a way better place to jump, right?
They go from 20. They go from 22 to 126, which is practically the whole silo.
Yeah, 3,000 feet, give or take.
Half an hour, yeah. I mean, I guess going down is a lot easier than going up, but still.
Yeah, but that air conditioner must have been moving. That thing was heavy.
I don't like the air conditioner. Oh my god, it was very frustrating for me.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's like I didn't have
very Hollywoodish.
Yeah, getting killed by an air conditioner was not on my season finale bingo card.
Okay, so going back to what we were talking about with the needs of the many thing, I don't think a lot of people picked up on this if they only watched the show once. But in the first episode, Holston and Allison are talking, and he tells her, "What if a bunch of rule breakers decide they want to see for themselves what it's like above ground? They somehow manage to open that door. We are done." And he says, "Part of my job is making sure that doesn't happen." So Holston is well aware of the big danger, which is that, everybody wants to bust out and then everybody's dead. So he lays out the primary danger in his mind. And then, Allison going outside changes that, right? So he's not sure. And so I don't know. I was kind of surprised that they didn't tell us a bunch of things about Holston. I had thought that, after we see him for the last time, I had actually thought that we were going to see a little bit more about his time between when he tells Jules to sit tight and when he chooses to go outside.
I thought we would see more of his interactions with, Jules. Because remember, she stands up and she's so angry when she sees... Jules is so angry when she sees him die and she calls him a liar or whatever. She's, personally angry. And I don't feel like we really got to see exactly why.
Well, I mean, I think it's just that the last thing he told her was to just be quiet and he'll signal her, right? And she never got a signal, and then the next thing she knows that he's going outside to kill himself.
I see. Yeah, I think I interpreted that wrong, and that's why I was expecting to see more, but you're right.
Yeah, the signal was the badge with truth on it, if I remember correctly, but she didn't get that until
after. Yeah, but I guess for me, I thought we were going to see more because what he saw was hidden. So I thought that was going to be something that they were going to bring back later. And then also he had the hard drive. So I thought that they were going to and he was a double the flowers guy. So obviously he figured out that there were cameras somehow. And I thought they were going to show us how he figured that out.
It would have been helpful because I think it would have shown more of his motivations to go outside besides just his wife, and which is a huge thing. But
Yeah,
it seemed like something changed for him at some point.
Yeah, I just felt like, something must have turned his world upside down yet again, other than his wife. Or he had this, like, he was so dedicated to the silo, right? And
They
then
probably filmed it and cut it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, like you said, he had the hard drive. So as people are speculating on the sub, did he also view the same video that Allison viewed? And is that what, made him change his mind to kind of believe what she said?
And there could be anything on that hard drive, and he could have looked at any of it.
There could have been other things that we haven't seen. Yeah. More evidence. So yeah, maybe.
I think it's possible that he did open the hard drive, but I don't think he saw the cleaning video because of the way he reacts when he goes outside. He just looks around, he's like shocked, and he says, "Allison, you were right." If he had seen the video, then I think he would have sent it then. Not when he sees it outside.
That's true. Yeah.
So, but so many of these things were like totally new to book readers. Like, there's no Jane Carmody in the books. There's no cleaning video. There's no hard drive.
Every time you guys start talking about like what's not in the book, I'm like, what is in the book? And I'm like, because I start feeling like everything.
I know, because I made a list of things that are only on the show, and I just feel like looking at this, people who watch the show must have been like, what?
It feels like a huge list. Yeah, like how can all this be without all of that, right?
Yeah, because like there's no syndrome, there's no guidebook, the Georgia guidebook.
They could cut that because I don't know what it is, and I don't really like. It's just like one of those weird things where maybe we'll never find out what it is. Does it even matter? Like, knowing it's not in the book, now I don't care. I'm like, whatever, just some plot device.
Well, remember, for the whole first season, we're only, depending on your format, something like 220 or 240 pages into book one. So basically half of book one. So
it's actually less than half because there's 82 chapters. I think when I look at my bookmark in my hardcover, it's like 40% or something.
Yeah, and on the Kindle it said 40%. So they took 40% of a book, 200 pages, and spread it out into 10 hours of show almost. So yeah, there's a lot that's in the show that is greatly expanded from what the book readers are familiar with.
I did really like everything that they added. Like, the janitor's room was really cool.
I think it's so fun that they can do that, like in collaboration with Hugh, and just sort of make this whole universe that you can play around in. It's fun.
Yeah. The expanded role of Judicial was nice, and then obviously the relics were not in the book.
Yeah.
So everybody losing their mind over a watch, a Pez dispenser, and then Sim's random, room full of... It's like that Simpsons episodes, why can you never stay out of my room full of mystery,
I
really want to see what he's got in that box.
After that episode with Judge Meadows, I bought an Etch-a-Sketch, and my kids actually really like it. They all play with it.
I always found them really frustrating.
Yeah, they like, me too. But yeah,
I don't have like that kind of brain, I don't think.
Yeah, Apple is really missing out on the merchandising opportunities with the Pez dispenser.
Hey, I bought a $4 duck Pez dispenser off eBay because of this show. So
exactly, $4 spent to someone. Get in on this.
I bought
one. I'd buy one.
Yeah, I bought one really early on. So.
I will pay a lot of money for useless garbage. Sign me up.
Yep. Yeah, one of the things, well, like Kelly was saying, we don't know yet if they're going to make a plot point like the syndrome to be something that is actually relevant to the story, but that was one of the interesting additions to the show, in part just because I'm genuinely curious if it's a real disease or if they're going to somehow blend it into the story. Like Gloria mentioned that they're drugging the water, so maybe the syndrome is somehow a side effect of those drugs or rejecting those drugs, or so there may be additions that we as book readers think, it's not important because it's not in the book, but they may find, ways to weave it into the story so that it is actually a very important story element.
I guess I thought it was just like sort of a plot device to have something to hold over Billings, but I don't know how that worked in the book, like if they had something else or what happens with him, or if anything happens for him, or if he exists, or
he exists, but I think his name is Peter, right?
Yeah. Peter,
no.
I think they changed that because Julia's dad's name was Peter. So I think they probably felt like they couldn't have two Peters. So
why did Hugh name two people Peter?
I don't know.
But yeah, the syndrome is mentioned in the Pact, so it was known as far back as the last edit of the Pact, which could have been when the founders founded the silo. So it's a big thing in their world.
Oh, I wonder how often they do edit the pact. Are there like amendments?
Amendments. They must have amendments, right?
We have no idea. That's one of the cool things about the the show, that they can drip us those details over time. And even as book readers, as Josh said, there's lots of stuff in the show that'll keep us entertained that is different enough.
Yeah, if Apple's listening, we really like this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
keep revealing it. We love it.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're almost simulating the three branches of government, where obviously judicial is judicial. I guess the mayor is the executive branch, but we really don't see a legislative branch. Like, we know that there's a mayor, but, are there councils, are there representatives? Because we know the silos are split into three sort of, the up top, the mids, the down deep. So is there like a down deep council that represents all of the different floors? It'd be interesting to see if there was more politicking, or if there's just a mayor.
Oh my God, there's probably like floor HOAs where everyone
polices everyone. I'm sorry, but no. Don't you put that idea out there. No HOAs.
I wonder if do they have religion in the silo?
It didn't seem like it. There were no priest characters, which was surprising to me.
I also didn't see any evidence that any of those children went to school.
Oh no, they mentioned.
Oh, there was evidence.
Yeah.
Where?
They like, I think Hank says that his cousin asked if his kids can go to school.
Oh, that's right. In the last episodes when that's right. Maybe it was up until that point. I was like, where his kids all seem to be like just wandering around all the time.
Yeah,
but I guess there's nowhere for them to go.
Tells Jules that he'll walk her to school or halfway to school or something. So they've mentioned school. So.
Yeah, and again, back to the whole pixel sleuthing thing. As Johns is flipping through the mayor's ledgers, one of the entries for one of the dates is exam week for year 7 begins.
Oh, I didn't see
that. They talk about the schools in there.
I'd love to see their curriculum. Like, they don't know about stars. Like, what are they actually teaching?
Yeah, as far as we know from other pixel sleuth, not pixel, but reading like George's reports and stuff, it looks like kids are moving out of the house as young as like 14 or something.
Yeah.
So that's probably when they start shadowing for their job. So
it's also possible that Jules and George were like special circumstances, because Regina mentions that George loses his family, so we don't know, because like he went from living with like, I think, a sibling and 2 parents to living all by himself at age 14. So
it does seem like the silo, there was a place where all jobs sort of have like apprenticeships, where it's sort of a learn. It doesn't listen like apply at McDonald's or something, when you turn 16 or something. There seems to be an order to it.
Well, I mean, when Jules goes down to mechanical, he says that she's a little bit younger than what is normal, right?
Right.
So maybe
she was 13 when she went down.
Yeah, so maybe it's like 15 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's why they didn't make such a fuss about it. Like, to us, it seems crazy that a 13-year-old, runs
moves
off
out. Yeah. They also expanded heavily the George relationship, and I think that they merged George with Scotty. Scotty was like a friend in IT that Jules had, and I feel like they changed Jules's motivation a lot by making the George relationship mean so much to her. So what did you guys think about that?
Oh, wait, so they weren't like in a romantical relationship in the book?
Well, I mean, I think they had like one line where they mentioned that she was in a relationship with a guy named George.
But she wasn't in love with him. There wasn't this like desperate desire.
I mean, again, not to spoil too much in the books, but the George in the books also dies, and Holston also investigates the murder. That's how Holston meets Jules in the first place. But yeah, it's just like the fact that George existed is only briefly mentioned, but I think it is also mentioned that Jules and him were basically in a relationship.
Yeah.
That's so interesting to me, because that feels like basically her motivation in the show.
Yeah, it's like the central motivation of her, right? Mm-hmm. So that's why I'm saying it was like a big change. Like, I think some people were bothered by that because they liked that her primary motivation was the desire to fix things, as opposed to just wanting to find out who killed George. So, but I thought it worked, because I mean,
they probably feel like it's more empowering for her, and it's not just about a guy or whatever, how that is.
Yeah. Because, I mean, you have a bunch of humans in a box, right? I mean, you need to, like, showcase their like relationships with each other and their complicated feelings for each other, because I mean they can't go anywhere, right? So obviously tensions are gonna, you add in tensions and stuff like that. You have to make things, people, I think people are just more motivated when they have like connections to other people. So because I mean even Martha, right, she's a little hermit in her workshop, but even she has relationships with
Love
people.
Martha.
So yeah,
I think especially on screen you have to use like characters and relationships to motivate people, to get people invested in what they're seeing. Otherwise, in a book I think it's a little different.
Yeah, because in the book you get the inner monologue, so you can, it is
You
written
can
out for
read
you
their
in black and
motivation.
white what the motivations for
Yeah.
this person are. But in the visual medium, unless you have a narrator, you can't really do that. So having the external relationships to kind of push things along is definitely useful.
okay, so let's do some speculation. What do you guys think Paul is going to do with that page that he took out of the book?
I'm
I think
convinced that it has something to do with like water. That like the whole water in the silo thing, that doesn't make sense to me. Like he's like, maybe it was those aquarium pictures, or like anything of like if there was like a kid swimming in water or something like that. That's my guess.
Yeah, so somebody had taken screenshots and we looked at it, and it's got like illustrated pictures of sea life, like a starfish and a squid and things like that, and that's on the page that he tore out. So yeah, it is an ocean related page, and then it's got like some kind of like copy for like tourism and stuff like go and explore and rides and stuff like that, or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah, I cringed when he burned the rest of the book because I was like, oh, you can't destroy
I know.
the
Oh
relics.
my god. Regina had that thing in her mat for how many years, man? And then you go
Yeah,
and burn it.
but yeah, even he couldn't, destroy it completely. He had to keep that one page.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, is
I
it going to
think
show his wife? Did he keep it for his kid to, give his kid some expanded knowledge of their world, or is that going to be the thing that leaks now and causes havoc in season 2 somehow?
I
Um,
can't imagine him showing his wife. I don't feel like they have that kind of connection. I don't like her anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
everybody got upset at her as like a social climber because, like, when he mentioned possibly
Yeah.
losing his job, her first concern is like, "Are we gonna have to move?" I'm like, "Hello, the father of your kids, your husband. He's like gonna lose his job because he's got this illness,
I didn't
and
think
your
about
first
that. Now I hate
concern
her
is
more.
like." Yeah, I think what's gonna happen is she's gonna find it and she's gonna burn it or turn him in.
Turn him in. Yeah.
That'll
She seems like a narc.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
does she go up 2 or 3 more levels if she turns her husband in for having an unregistered relic? Like, what's the currency here?
The rise of Kathleen Billings.
She's going to take over the HOA on the up top, and she's going to run that place.
She would totally be that person.
Take down those Christmas decorations or whatever.
Oh,
Freedom Day decorations.
Sir, it's January 3rd. You got to take this. They don't know what a snow. They don't have. Do they have holidays? I guess we
Well,
didn't
they have
really.
Freedom Day.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
Freedom Day, and they have she, I think John's declared a power holiday, right? Or
Yeah.
Right, but I'm talking like our
Or it was
holidays. Do they
the debt
have?
free, or the what was the holiday? The
forgiveness
forgiveness
holiday.
holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's when they do the purge night,
That's
right?
the purge.
Everything's
Yeah, it was like the
forgiven.
purge, where you just shove people off the railing. I still think you could throw them in the trash chute is way more efficient.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, see, so the way that that guy picked Jules up from the trash like so fast, other people must fall down there, right? She must not be the first person to fall down there.
It was
Imagine that.
nicely padded for her landing.
Mm-hmm. Suspiciously.
Suspicious.
But yeah, like you said, so in season 2, Billings is going to be sheriff under the thumb of Judicial because they know
Sims,
about his
yeah.
syndrome. So he's going to have to, do what they want. So they're going to be in total control. But then we have Jules walking over the hill, and who knows where she's going to end up. I mean, we know she's
And
in season 2, so she doesn't die.
as we established with Hugh in our interview with him, is that Bernard doesn't yet know that she's walking over the hill because he left before he saw her stand up.
Yeah.
So he's
Yeah.
downstairs doing something in the server room, and he's gonna
Doing
have to
some-
hear from
doing
somebody,
something.
hey, she got up and she made it, man. It's safe outside. Oh, that's actually something too, right?
Yeah, that she made it
Yeah,
past the spot where everybody
Yeah.
died.
Everyone's gonna be like, "Well, give me a suit, patch me up, I'm ready to go." You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's going to be a major thread for season 2 is figuring out the heat tape, like who made the switch, and trying to ferret out the people in supply.
And
I'm
like
sorry, I forget her name.
the only thing that keeps them from putting them on, like they have to say they know about the heat tape and that they're like intentionally sabotaging people. Like that's like a whole other, can of worms. Like to
Everybody
even
in
investigate, they have to admit that
So
there's
there's
two different
definitely
kinds of
going to be
tape.
some hard feelings among the down deep folks. So yeah, maybe another rebellion or something along those lines is probably likely in
I
season
feel like
2.
they've been peppering that throughout the season. They keep
As like the
talking
worst
about.
thing, yeah.
Well, they keep talking about like unrest, like even Kathleen. She was like, they're talking about how Jules is like setting the groundwork for another rebellion, and Hank talked about how there's people scared about whether our kids can go to school, and then I think early on in the season they had all those people like getting hammers
Yeah,
and tools, and
I need a hammer or an axe for my home improvement project.
The HOA said, my door is 3 inches too tall. I gotta chop it down a little bit. I don't know. Just talk to them.
But yeah, I feel like they've been peppering things through. They're hinting at it. So and I think with her not cleaning and her making it over the hill, people are going to be like, yeah, let's all go. I want to get out of here.
Yeah, thankfully they have the door. Is the door locked up behind the jail cell number 3, or is that just the cell they put everybody in before they walk? I can't
Yeah,
remember.
it's down the hall from the jail
Okay.
cell. So
it looks like it's across from it's like the one cell that's directly across from the door, so it makes it more ominous. It's like you have to sit there and look at it.
Cell. Yeah,
we'll see what happens. Where Jules goes. Does she go to one of the other silos? Does she make a run towards the city? Does a tornado come and pick her and the dog up and drop them off in a random pause? There's lots of different opportunities.
I just want to see her feet like walking past all the other silo cameras. That's how I want it to look. Just like waving.
Guys in the cafeteria looking out and being like,
knocking on the window.
Hello, anybody home?
I hope they have a way to like turn off all the cameras, just like a mass, like boom. Otherwise, they're gonna have some trouble because like there's no indoor, right? There's no way to go back in except for
only the people inside.
I wonder if there's like a doorbell. If you can go to the front.
There's a ring.
We had a big not argument, but like discussion on the Discord because there's some massive VFX artist that's creating a 3D rendering of everything, and we were trying to figure out how the door opened, and we were going back and forth trying to figure out the mechanisms. I don't know if there's like a call button on the outside you can hit to get the door to open, but probably not.
Yeah, because they assume that everybody outside's
dead.
Why
would anyone? Right, exactly.
Yeah, they don't need that.
It's still really interesting to me when I think about all the spraying they do before they go outside, that like spraying them down with whatever that is. What in the world could that possibly be? Why would it be necessary? It seems like something you would do if someone were coming in from the outside. Why would they need to spray her before she goes out? Is that just for effect? Or like, I have no idea. I think about it so much. Like, could they be?
You can't see me, but I'm holding my hands up going, nope, not talking about that. Nope.
Okay. Oh, that's why you're not speaking. Got it. All right.
Okay, so something that Xenoculus started or made popular in the Downdeed Discord is he's been throwing out these previously on or this week on Silo and next season on Silo, and we like come up with all these ridiculous ones. So do you wanna give some of your jokey season 2 prediction ones?
Yeah, I mean my jokey season 2 prediction ones are basically just continuations.
We do crossover ones all the time, right?
The crossover. You had the best one, but yeah, usually mine are like, our new sheriff puts the page he tore off out of the book on his wall and starts tunneling behind it to make his way out of the silo, because of course we have to do that one.
Oh, dude, that's actually pretty good.
There was a few people that did that because, everybody likes a Shawshank Redemption. We also went for, obviously I mentioned the Wizard of Oz. My favorite one, though, is, Juliet walks across the desert with nothing to keep her company except for her Sandalwood handled 6 shooters. She chases the black man across the desert. We got to go for that was the Dark Tower one.
Okay, so here's a crossover one I did on the finale week. I said, on the season finale of Silo, Juliet enlists her dad to take her across a barren landscape outside where she meets a horse lord and becomes the mother of dragons. Because, her dad is Jorah Mormont.
I like it. No, my favorite one was on the season finale of Silo, Juliet and her band of cohorts escape from the desert prison using nothing but their luck and smarts. They managed to get entry into a local chocobo race, finally winning their way back up to the giant amusement park in the sky. For the children out there, that's a Final Fantasy VII reference. Or the ridiculous one was this week on Silo, young Tony Block takes the wheels off his dad's rolling chairs and attaches them to a scrap piece of steel. He then proceeds to rail slide the entire staircase, but miffs the landing and ends up getting squashed into the fans. Hence the episode title, Tony Block Flow Skater. All right, that one's only fun to me, but that's fine.
On the season finale of Silo, Juliet and Paul escape the silo and head out across a vast desert before encountering another silo of people called the Fremen. That's a Dune reference. And I thought it was funny because, Billings, his name is Paul, and, Paul Atreides.
Oh, yeah.
And Juliet is Lady Jessica, right? So
yes. On the final episode of Silo, Juliet pushes through the door at the bottom of the silo. It enters into a giant banquet hall. Her brother is standing there holding a t-shirt that says, "I was drugged and left for dead at the bottom of a nuclear missile silo, and all I got was this lousy t-shirt." The movie The Game, for anybody who doesn't get the reference.
Yeah, sorry, I don't get any of these references. I'm just like...
It's okay.
Yeah, the Game was a Michael Douglas movie from the 90s, so...
Is that the one where they're on the island and they're like hunting people? Or is that a short story called The Game?
That's the most dangerous game, is the human hunting one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. It's making me sound like a serial killer, sorry.
Yeah, I think that's all the references I have, but I'm sure we'll do a big season 2 thread, wrong answers only, what's going to happen this episode.
Yeah.
Hugh mentioned a lot of people getting thrown into boxes during his AMA, so we kind of have
I was
some
confused
idea.
about that. He mentioned that on our podcast too. He's talking about watching a scene with cardboard boxes, and I wasn't, because I didn't go back and read the book, so I don't know if that's like in the book. So I couldn't remember what he was talking about.
It's a stunt thing. So when somebody is falling from a great height, they stack all these cardboard boxes and they fall into the boxes.
Oh, okay. So it's a filming thing, not a...
Yeah, that's what he was saying. He was like he was saying the silo set is so big that he can be 2 or 3 levels above the scene watching it, which just must be, absolutely mind-blowing to watch that. But yeah, if let's say, hypothetically somebody got thrown off of a level, they would then fall down a level, land on a bunch of cardboard boxes.
That's hinting at rebellion, people getting tossed off of stairs.
That's the final one. On the season premiere of Silo, Juliet starts at the bottom of the silo and fights her way to the top. When she reaches the top, she pulls the sword out and screams, "There can only be one!"
Okay, so we gotta start wrapping up. So any last thoughts as we go into this long interim waiting for season 2?
Yeah, well, hopefully not too long, because as we have been told, season 2 is already filming. Supposedly they had the scripts done before the strike. I guess that means not a lot of rewrites during the filming, so hopefully it was all good to go, but hopefully it's not quite as long as a wait as we'll have for other shows that are out there.
Yeah, I'm just really enjoying it, seeing all of these new people come into the world of Silo and learn to appreciate as much as we have, and just seeing how happy Hugh is about all of these things and the announcements about his other properties. Like, I'm really excited for everything going forward.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of say to Kelly's point about how the books and the show are so different. If I had not yet read the books, I definitely would take the off-season time to go ahead and read them all. You might think that you're going to be spoiling yourself for the show for certain major plot points, but they're different enough that you're still going to get immense enjoyment out of the show itself, even after you've read the books. And it's a way to keep your interest and engagement up, for the next few months. So definitely start reading the books if you haven't yet.
So this is going to be our last regular weekly episode until things start picking up for season 2. But we really appreciate everyone who's listened to us over the last 2 months, and hopefully we'll be back when they release a teaser or there's casting news or something like that. So
which shouldn't be too long, I think. With casting, you should know some things soon.
Yeah. So, but it's been fun. So
it has been fun. We've done this a long time.
Yeah. Okay. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Wires from the Deep. If you're enjoying our podcast, tell other Silo fans that they can find us at wiresfromthedeep.com and leave us a review on your podcasting platform of choice. Join the Down Deep Discord by going to thedowndeep.net and following the invite link to join discussions with other friends. And we're probably going to be having watch parties for movies for cast members while we wait. Or as we get closer to season 2, we're probably going to do rewatch parties so that everybody can have a fresh watch on their minds as we get into season 2. But if you want to contact me and Kelly, you can leave a comment on Podbean or one of our YouTube videos, or you can email us at crystal@thedowndeep.net. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Wires from the Deep is brought to you by Pico's House. If you have a manuscript that you're looking to develop, fine-tune, or polish for self-publication or submission to agents and publishers, Pico's House offers comprehensive editorial services for fiction authors. The team at Pico's House helps hundreds of authors each year and specializes in science fiction, fantasy, middle grade, and thrillers. To find out more, go to picoshouse.com, PIKKOSHOUSE.com. Please mention that you heard about Pico's House on Wires from the Deep.